Trump just yeeted JD Vance straight onto the world's longest, slowest moving bus, and honestly, we're just here for the wreckage. After years of JD trash talking Trump, guess who's now stuck defending the world's dumbest tariffs like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar? Spoiler, it's not going well. The economy's on fire, JD's getting roasted, and Trump's sitting back like it's popcorn night. It's a masterpiece of petty, brutal revenge. Trump's latest act of political hazing, handing JD Vance the smoking rubble of his brilliant trade war and saying, "Go defend this dumpster fire, buddy." Nothing says living the dream like JD Vance waking up every morning, brushing his teeth, adjusting his "I'm totally a serious politician" tie, and preparing to humiliate himself defending Donald Trump's economic genius, which, if we're being honest, is mostly about setting piles of money on fire while shouting "America first" like a drunk guy at a minor league baseball game. The Trump administration is forming a task force and putting Vice President JD Vance in charge of it, effectively making him what they're calling the tariff czar. Imagine spending your whole career pretending you're the voice of forgotten America, only to end up as Donald Trump's crash test dummy for a tariff policy that's somehow making farmers, manufacturers, consumers, and probably some dogs and cats deeply miserable. That's JD Vance's life now. The tariffs, shockingly, are going about as well as letting a raccoon run a nuclear reactor. Trump's strategy of slapping tariffs on China, Europe, and literally anyone who sneezed wrong has predictably backfired. Prices are up, exports are down, small businesses are curled up under their desks muttering, "This is fine," while the building burns down. Trump has declared chronic trade deficits are no longer merely an economic problem, they're a national emergency that threatens our security and our very way of life. Starting tomorrow, the United States will implement reciprocal tariffs on other nations. And who's the lucky one left holding the bag? None other than JD, "I'd sell my soul for power" Vance. It's almost poetic, really. JD wasn't always Donald Trump's designated emotional support politician, clinging to his leg like a lost puppy. Once upon a time, JD was basically hosting book clubs dedicated to dissecting how truly awful Trump was. He called Trump every name in the dictionary short of sentient dumpster fire, and built his entire public image around being that hillbilly intellectual who actually hates Trump. Fast forward to today, and JD's out here trying to convince Americans that Trump's economic policies are actually a stroke of genius. Like, sure, you're paying triple for eggs, but think of all the patriotic suffering you're doing. It's character building. You honestly can't make this stuff up. JD's political transformation would almost be impressive if it weren't so profoundly cringeworthy. It's like he's in some kind of performance art piece called "How Low Can You Go?" Watching him defend Trump's disastrous tariffs is like watching a dog try to explain quantum physics. Confusing, sad, and weirdly fascinating. JD's biggest problem with Trump was that his message to the white working class was anti-conservative and anti-American. It was fundamentally that the deck is so stacked against you that unless Trump is president, nothing you do will change your life's outcomes. JD thought it was wrong and self-destructive. Trump's tariffs hit American consumers harder than JD Vance's dignity hit the floor in 2020. You want a new fridge? Tough luck. Steel prices skyrocketed faster than a Trump Truth Social meltdown. Aluminum? Hope you enjoy paying double for that soda can. Washing machines? Forget it. You'd have to auction off a kidney just to afford clean socks. Meanwhile, as the average American got financially suplexed by rising costs, JD Vance wobbled onto the scene in full spin mode, babbling about economic sovereignty like a malfunctioning MAGA chatbot on its last battery life. Every word sounded like it had been programmed by a think tank that thinks basic economics is some woke liberal conspiracy. Instead of acknowledging that tariffs were basically just a patriotic tax hike in a red hat, JD twisted himself into a pretzel trying to sell the fantasy that empty wallets and sky-high appliance prices were actually a win for America. If economic sovereignty means bankrupting your own citizens while pretending it's some 4D chess move, then congratulations, JD. Mission accomplished. JD claims that during the first Trump administration, everybody said Trump's tariffs would be inflationary. What actually happened? We had one. 5% inflation, the fastest growing economy in a generation, and the beginning of a manufacturing renaissance in America. Then, of course, we had 4 terrible years of the Biden administration. He argues we should step back and ask what the globalist economy has gotten America. His answer? It's based on 2 principles: incurring huge debt to buy things other countries make for us. To make it crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. The sad truth is, we don't actually know if Donald Trump is so deeply stupid that he believes what he's saying. It's one or the other. A president stupid enough to think foreign countries pay American tariffs, or a president who knows the truth but lies about it. Going back to when JD Vance used to roast Donald Trump, it feels like a fever dream now, but there was a time before the full-body soul transplant when JD couldn't stop pointing out how Trump was basically a flaming dumpster fire rolling downhill into American democracy. Vance wasn't just throwing shade, he was practically hosting nightly TED Talks titled Donald Trump, the human wrecking ball of civilization. Back then, JD spoke about Trump like he was describing a biblical plague, complex with frogs, locusts, and infrastructure collapse. He admitted, "I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him." But because life is nothing if not a relentless sitcom with bad writers, JD had a revelation. Turns out having integrity and speaking the truth are terrible strategies if your dream is to sit in fancy offices and wear MAGA hats unironically. So he pulled off the most embarrassing public U-turn since Milli Vanilli's lip-syncing scandal, except somehow more cringe. One minute, JD's warning America about Trump like he's Paul Revere on Red Bull, and the next, he's shining Trump's shoes with whatever dignity he had left. Now, JD is basically Trump's personal water boy, trying with a straight face to convince voters that getting bent over by tariffs is somehow a bold act of patriotism. It's a masterclass in selling your soul for a campaign check, and JD's out here making it look like an Olympic sport. The incompetence is clear. Donald Trump doesn't know what the end goal of his tariff plan is. He doesn't know if it's bringing manufacturing back, which isn't going to happen because he lost manufacturing jobs in his first administration. It's certainly not to bring prices down. The opposite is happening. And when Trump says he's having great conversations with China, what he means is he's stressed because no one is returning his calls. While Trump and JD Vance are busy playing dress up as champions of the forgotten American, real people are standing in grocery store aisles doing double takes at their receipts. Eggs cost more than a car payment. Bread feels like a luxury item. Half the shoppers are wondering if they've accidentally signed a lease to live under some third world dictatorship. Inflation isn't just up, it's doing backflips over common sense. Prices are spiraling so fast that even the dollar store is starting to look like a high-end boutique. Out in the heartland, the small towns that Trump once pretended to care about are turning into ghost towns quicker than JD Vance can lose another shred of self-respect. The diners are closing, the factories are empty, and the only new business booming is the for sale sign industry. And what about the farmers, the salt of the earth folks Trump wrapped himself in like a human American flag? They're selling off their land, their equipment, even their dreams, piece by piece just to stay afloat. When Powell warned that Trump's tariffs could bring greater inflation and slow economic growth, he didn't use the exact word, but what he was describing is stagflation. Investopedia defines stagflation as an economic condition characterized by slowing economic growth, high unemployment, and rising prices or inflation simultaneously. It's a 1-2-3 punch. Although, at least for now, we continue to have low unemployment, inflation, and a recession together result in higher unemployment. Meanwhile, JD Vance is standing somewhere in a crumbling town square, proudly waving a sad little American flag. Like a guy at a birthday party no one showed up to, screaming, "Everything's fine!" to absolutely no one. It's like watching a house burn down while the guy who lit the match insists it's just a little to... At press conferences, JD looks like a man who's just learned he has to defend flat earth theory to a room full of astronauts. Reporters toss him softballs like, "So, why are families spending $12 out of cents on a gallon of milk?" And JD responds with a word salad so thick it requires a machete to get through. Every talking point is more desperate than the last. Strategic decoupling, economic independence, freedom. Translation, please stop asking me real questions. I'm dying up here. During his campaign, Trump promised America would be respected again. And there's nothing the world respects more than a good old-fashioned trade war, right? China's response to losing the US market, we don't care. There's even viral AI-generated videos making fun of US-China trade relations, showing Trump and Elon Musk and JD Vance making Nike sneakers and Trump sitting behind a sewing machine in a factory. Let's just call it what it is. JD Vance is lying in a bed he made with his own two hands. And not even particularly well. Nobody dragged him kicking and screaming into the MAGA clown car. Nobody held a gun to his head and said, "Hey, JD, why don't you completely torture credibility and dignity for a shot at groveling under Donald Trump's table?" He did that all by himself, like a big boy making big boy mistakes. The best part, Even the hardcore MAGA base, the folks who would normally rally behind a soggy ham sandwich if Trump endorsed it, aren't buying JD's act anymore. You can practically hear the collective eye rolls from a mile away as JD gives desperate TED Talks about how tariffs